This is a tutorial for installing the OntologyStore plugin in ITB2 Web Client 1.8. We're going to follow the instruction on GitHub repository. So here's the OntologyStore GitHub repository. We're going to go to the docs folder and we're going to click on the quick install ITB2 1.8. This is the guide for installing the OntologyStore for Web Client 1.8. So the OntologyStore has two components. One is the OntologyStore cell, which is the back end, and the other one is the OntologyStore plugin, which is the front end. We're first going to install the OntologyStore cell, the back end. And we're going to follow this whole instructions from top to bottom. So the first thing we need to do is stop the wildfly service. So let's do that. So I'm going to log in as root, and let's see if we make this bigger. So I'm going to do service control stop wildfly. And we can verify that the service is stopped by typing the status. Okay, as you can see, it is inactive. So that's sure that we have stopped the wildfly. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is download the cell. So click on the OntologyStore cell zip to download the file. So we're going to save that. And the instructions say we need to extract this zip file and copy into the following directories. So let's do that. So I'm going to my download folder. I download it. I'm going to unzip this. Okay. So there are two files in the zip file as mentioned in the documentations here. So for the OntologyStore.aar file, we're going to put that in a wildfly directory in the this folder right here, this directory in the web services, and the other one, the jar file, we're going to put in the lib folder of the wildfly. So let's go to that folder. Okay, as you can see in this directory, this is where all the .aar file goes. So let's copy. And let's verify that the file is copied there. And it is right here. Next, we're going to copy the jar file. So we're going to go to, actually we can copy directly from here. This is assuming that your wildfly is set up like this. So here's the lib folder, and this lib folder contains all the jar files, which is all the libraries that wildfly uses. So let's copy that. Download. Okay. Let's make sure that the file is there. Okay, and we can see that we just copy it right here. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is add the data source for the OntologyStore, and we do that by adding the data source configuration file. So we need to download this template. So on my server, I am running Postgres. So this is a local development server that I have. So I'm going to download this. Oh, if you click on it, it will just show you. So let's go right click this to download it. So the next thing we need to do is make sure that our connection information is changed from the default, from the template, to whatever our connection is. In my case, it is going to be the same as this because this is a local installation. So it's going to be hosted on localhost, and the port is going to be the same. And this is since this is a running off a demo data directly from I2B2, so all the credentials are going to be the same. So basically, all I need to do is copy this file over to this directory right here. And if your system is set up different, so you have to change the connection URL, username, password, and possibly the driver, depending on what Postgres driver version you're using. So I'm going to go to this directory right here. Let's see what's in this directory. So it looks like this is where all the .xml files go, the connection, the data source file. So copy it. Okay, let's make sure that's there. And it is there. We just copy it right here. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is to restart Wildfly server. But before we do that, all the files that we copy is actually copied as root. So we need to change the ownership to Wildfly for Wildfly to use this, or to able to read this, have permission to access these files that we just copied over. So we do that by changing the ownership. So in Linux, Red Hat, you basically execute this command to change all the files in Wildfly. So which is this. So we're going to do that. And if we go let's check the permission, and we see that now we have changed the owner of the files that we just copied. This is including the jar file and the AR file that we copy over. So now it is actually owned by Wildfly. The next thing we need to do is restart the Wildfly service. Well, or start it in this case because we stop it. Okay. And once we start it, let's check the Wildfly status, make sure that it's actually running. And it is active, so it is running. And we can verify to see that the OntologyStore service is available by checking the list of services. So we click, I'm going to open this as a different tab. So again, if your Wildfly service is hosted on a different host name, you might have to change it to, you will have to change it to that. But because I am running this, deploying this on a locally, so it's going to running a localhost. So here's the list of services that Wildfly is running. So we go down, we will see the OntologyStore service. So here are the available operations. So if you click on this, it takes you to the WSDL information. So we know now that the OntologyStore service is actually deployed. So the next thing we need to do is configure the ontology store cell. Basically, we need to add some entries into the database so that the the ITB2 able to recognize that we do have a cell in there called OntologyStore cell, and we need to set all the other parameters that needs. So the first thing we need to do is add the cell. So we do that by adding an entry into the PM cell data table in ITB2 database. So let's go and do that. And these are the values that we need to add into that table. So there's many ways you can do this. The way I'm doing this right now is because I am actually going to use this database management tool to add it. So I'm going to need to add this in the PM cell. So I need to go to the PM, ITB2 PM user. So here's the PM cell data table. So we need to add an entry into this. So this is so that the PM cell knows how to communicate with the ontology store cell. So in my case, you can actually add the entry directly here, but in my case, I actually wrote a script for it already. So I'm going to open that script to insert it. So once again, your ontology, your cell URL will be different depending again the host that you wildfly deploy on, and you have to make sure you change that. And also, if you running on a different port, make sure you change it from 9090 to whatever port you're listening on. So in this case, again, because this is deployed locally and for testing, so all this information is the same. So I'm going to run this, and so we go back to the cell, refresh it, and we can see this is the entry that it adds. So this is the cell ID, which is the ontology store, the project path, the name, the rest, and this is the path to reach for the wildfly service. And you can see that when we look at the list here. If we go back to the list here. We can see that the service here is this path right here. Okay. So the next thing we need, and if you want to learn more information about adding a new cell, you can see the ITB2 documentation. So I'm going to right click here, open your tab. And this is the documentation, ITB2 documentation that talks about adding new cell. So the next thing we need to do is configure the cell property. And so basically what we need to do is tell the ontology store where to fetch the list of ontologies. So it's nothing. So the list of ontologies is nothing more than a JSON file that has the list of ontologies that are available and other information. So we have one is for the production, and we have one list for the testing purposes, the development. So again, this is just a test machine. So we're gonna use that the production, the testing. So if you click on this, open tab, you can see what the JSON file look like. So it's pretty. So basically, it's just a list of different available ontologies to download. Here you can see the title, which is the name of the ontology, the ID, the owner, and the files to where download the ontology files. And this is the checksum. So basically, so when the OntologyStore download the zip file here, it checks the integrity. So it checks the checksums to make sure that the file is not corrupted. If it's not corrupted, then it will proceed to install. But if it's corrupted, then you won't be able to install because the file has been damaged. So this will verify the integrity of the files, the ontology that's downloaded. So we're going to add this into the Hive cell param table. So that means we need to go to the Hive. So we're going to, here's the ITB2 Hive. So the Hive cell parameters. So this is the table that we're going to insert this following entry. So basically, the parameter is the ontology product list URL. Basically, it's the URL to where to get this big list of the available ontologies for download and install. So we're going to add that entry into the database. And once again, I already have a script for this. So you can write a script to do an insert in all those values. So I'm going to run this. Let's go back to the table. So refresh the table. There you go. As you can see, we just installed an entry here to the database table. So the next thing we need to do is, and once again, if you want to learn more about configuring the cell properties, you can take a look at the ITB2 documentation here. So if I click on here, just take you to the ITB2 documentation. So it talks more about how to configure the cell. So the next thing we need to do is set the download path for the OntologyStore to download the ontologies to. So we need a path on the server that the OntologyStore cell can download the ontology files to. So once again, we need to add this entry into the PM cell parameters. And so the path that I'm going to download the ontology to is going to be the same as what's here. This example is home wildfly ontology. So note that the directory path may not exist on your server, so you have to create the path for it. So whatever the path you want to have the ontology download to, you have to create it. And also you have to make sure that you change the ownership to Wildfly so that Wildfly have the read-write access to that directory so they can download the files. So let's go to make sure to see if I have that. So I'm going to go to cd Wildfly. So in this directory, I need to create a folder called ontology. So this is the okay. So now my path is the same as this. So this is where the ontology files is going to be downloaded to. And once again, if I check at the ownership, this is actually owned by root, which I don't want. I will need to Wildfly. So I'm going to copy this, and so that it will change the ownership to Wildfly. Now we'll check the ownership again. Okay, now it's owned by Wildfly. Okay, So this is the path that you want to set as the value for this parameter, OntologyStore.directory.download. Okay. So that goes into the PM cell params, which is this table right down here, which currently has no entry. So I'm going to run this script that I set up. So refresh this. And you see it added an entry into the database table. So this is how the OntologyStore know where to download the ontologies. Okay, so it looks like we're done with that. So the next thing we need to do is install the plugin. So assuming that the ITB2 web client is installed in this directory, var www/html/web client, which that happens to be the path where my web client is installed. So I'm going to go to that directory. As you can see, this is where the web client is installed. And so we need to do is download the OntologyStore plugin communicator, which is this file right here. Okay. And we need to unzip that file and extract it into the web client JS/ITB2 cells. So if we go to that, so you can see that this directory is the directory contains where all the cells is located to communicate with the cell. So we need to extract the content of that zip file to this directory. So let's do that. So I'm going to unzip. So this is where I download it and extract it to this directory. And we can see it's right here. So what this thing does is basically it's how the plugin communicate to the back end. This file contains different methods that's available to communicate back to the OntologyStore cell. So the next thing we need to do is add this into the ITB2 config cells.json, and that is located in the web client directory. So we're going to go back. Oh. Okay, so we're in the main directory. We do ls, and we can see this is the file that we need to add this line in. So this will tell the ITB2 web client that there is a cell that exists, and it's called OntologyStore, or OnStore in this case. Okay. So before we make any modification to this file, it's good practice to back up, make a copy, of this file. So I'm going to do copy this. I'm going to call it dot back. So you can see that we make a backup copy. So in case we make a mistake, we can always go back. Okay. Now I want to add that in there. And I'm just going to copy this directly. And I'm going to save it. Okay. Okay, now I want to view the file, make sure that it's there. That is safe. So it is there. So okay, so the next thing we need to do is actually add in the plugin itself. So we can click here to download the file. Okay. And so we need to extract the content of that file into the plugin directory. And the path is edu pit edu/pit/dbmy. So if we go to the plugin directory, so this is the directory where the plugin is located for the new plugin structure for ITB2 1.8. So we go to edu. So we see that we don't have the path for edu pit dbmy. So as stated in this documentation, if the path does not exist, we will have to create it. So we can do mkdir/p in the path. So the p is basically to create the parent directory if it doesn't exist. So we're going to do that. So we're going to back a little bit. So we're going to mkdir/p. I'm just going to copy this. Okay. So we go to edu pit dbmy. Okay. So now we create a path for that. And now let's extract the content of that zip file here, ontology-store.zip file to this directory. Okay, if we do ls, we can see that it is there. Okay. So the next thing we need to do is add this right here into a file, the plugin.json. So this will tell ITB2 web client that there is a plugin and it's in this path. So let's do that. Let's go to okay, as you can see, we can see let's go to the plugin directory. We can see we do have a plugin.json, and if you view it, basically it tells the web client that there's a plugin that needs to be aware of. So as always, we need to make a backup copy of this. And to do that, make sure that's there, and that's going to do. So we're going to add it. So the plugin will show in order, based on the order of this. So we're going to put it here, top. Okay, I'm going to save it. And let's look at the content. We save it, and we did, and it's right here. Okay. The next thing we need to do is restart the Apache server. This is actually optional. You don't necessarily have to restart it. But let's see what happens if I don't restart it. So this might be too big. Reduce it down a bit. So I'm gonna clear the cache on this, make sure that it'll be fresh. Okay. So with the OntologyStore is meant to be for administrator to use it. So if you log in as a regular user here, like I'm doing right now, and you go to analysis tool, you won't see it. But if you log in as the administrator, you should see it in the analysis tool, which is right here. So if you click on it, you can see it's fetching a list of OntologyStore from the cloud. And again, it retrieving this list of ontology based on that JSON file all the way up here that we pointed to. So we open this tab again. You can see here's all the list of ontologies, and that's why you can see the corresponding list. So once we install it, we can actually start using it. So I'm gonna install some ontology. So let's say I'm gonna install this visit detail ontology and just download the vital sign. So I'm gonna execute, and it will give me a summary detail. So it tells me that this is in progress and it's successfully and it's installed successfully. So the download action is successful and it's installed successful. And you can see it as soon as it's done, it pops up in the term side. So you can see this is the visit details. So if you go back to the list, you can see that it's already installed, so there is nothing to do. But the one that you downloaded, and if you're not ready to install it, you can just download it like I did here with the vital signs, and later you can install it. So I'm going to install it now, and as you can see, it's successful and it shows up right here. So when you log out, the regular user will now able to see those ontologies, and they can actually start using it to run queries on it. Let's see, I'm going to do some examples, see if this works. So I say I'm going to do this and find some patient. Okay, in this case, there happen to be some patient counts for it. So that's how you install the OntologyStore plugin.